Hey guys, it is Chad here from the Battle Warrior Podcast, and I'm just letting all you listeners know that the Battle Warrior Podcast episodes will be available across all podcast platforms, guys. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this brand new episode today.
Feel the noise.
All right, guys. Hey, welcome to the Battle Warrior Podcast. Like I said, we are returning for brand new guests coming up here going in 2024, which is a month or two away. Honestly, man, we got a phenomenal guest on the other end here. And some of you guys that know my story know how much veterans are in my family and how much I love and respect what they do for the country and understand that we have a whole lot of them as friends. But this one's big. This one's big. The cool thing is I have Jason on the other end here. He's a decorated combat veteran. Multiple deployment speaker, author, inspiring memoir, book, The Soldier Against All Odds. He comes to the show where he's going to be talking about brutal, honest of unorthodox life, road career, maverick character, all this fun stuff about being in the military, some stories about being in the military. But the most important thing here, guys, is he wants to talk about exactly what this podcast is about: perseverance, refusal to quit, becoming an overcomer. So I was going to say, man, thank you. Jason Pike. I apologize here, but it's Jason Pike. I want to say thank you for coming on the show, man, and I appreciate hearing your story.
Yeah, Chad, I'm honored to be on your show, and I've got so many stories. Yeah, it's inspiration. It's a memoir of love and life in the military, failures, fiascos, crazy things. You couldn't make this shit up. I mean, really. And so I put it all on paper. I gave you all my heart in my memoir, A Soldier Against All Odds. I got a second book out about more of the veterans' benefits and how to get it. But the juicy good stuff is in the first book, but they're both okay. And for different folks, different strokes for different folks. And yeah, that's kind of what I've done since I've transitioned out of the military. And I got some other things I'm thinking about. So yeah, Chad, that's what I'm looking at.
So let's get to the first part. How many years have you served?
I served 31 years in the Army. Now, 9 of those years were overseas in 5 different countries: El Salvador, Afghanistan, Canada, Korea, and places I can't tell you about. But but there's just a lot of places. So nearly a third I'd spent overseas. And I started at the very bottom at the age of 17. I mean, I failed the first grade because I had academic problems, but I joined in the National Guard. They used to call that the Nasty Girls at the time. And then I went on to active duty. But everything I did from enlisted to officer was from the bottom. And then it went to lieutenant colonel, which was a senior manager in the military. But life struggles, events and things of that nature are, yeah, exactly. 31 years. Yeah, Chad. Mm-hmm.
So let's start with being on the bottom here, because obviously we have 31 years of a nice, lovely ladder that you climbed up and fell down and bounced around here. So starting from the bottom here. So obviously, and I'm going to go through the normal routine. Everyone that understands this, but people that haven't, you guys understand that there's basic training where you show up, you do the training, I'll let you explain it, but I know some of them go right into technical school right after that. But of that, once you got out of the basic training into schooling and all that stuff, where did you officially start in the field?
Where I officially started in the field, and that was a big climb, was in the 10th Special Forces Group on active duty. So when I went through basic training and then I went through my ROTC, my first active duty assignment was in the Special Operations Group, 10th Special Forces at Fort Devens. That was 10 years up. I'd already I was 10 years in the reserve before I hit that. So that's where I started, but I was a support officer in the Special Forces when I hit active duty at the age of 27. Yeah.
Yeah. So at that age, obviously, when you're saying you're an officer and all that stuff here, what lessons did you learn? Because I know you said you're in the field and you're doing ROTC. at that time, like, what were the things that you learned, and what were the things, like the obstacles you had to overcome?
So I was learning disability. I don't have, I failed the first grade. Writing and English are my worst. So academically, I had a problem. And so I had to compensate over that. And what I did to compensate was I prior planned. PPP in my book, Prior Planning Prevents Poor Performance. I looked ahead, I looked at what I needed to do, and I planned for it because I had to. I didn't have the wit and the grit just to come up with nice little sayings and shit at the last moment. I had to really work on it more than others, on whether it be getting a certain skill set or whatever. So PPP, prior planning, looking out into the future, that's what I had to do more than others. And I did it pretty well, and I still do it today. Yeah.
Well, and I was going to say, hearing these stories of like Army Rangers and all that stuff, when you talk about planning, like you were a natural planner to begin with, on top of a plan and execution from I don't want to say government, but from higher ups to go take care of a task or any of that stuff here. So when apologize here, guys, but when looking at that, like how many people were in the, as a leader, when did you start developing the leadership at that level to where say, hey, I have it's me now, I have a team, now I have a larger team, now I'm going to a bigger team?
Yeah, that was kind of embarrassing to come out as a second lieutenant, a butter bar, and then be in charge of like 30, 40 people. It's like, damn, I just got a college degree, and you got all these sergeants here that have a whole lot more experience than me, but I'm considered the leader. I really looked at I know it sounds crazy, but it's really, I went back to my father, and he was my first leader. It's just take care of people like you would take care of, treat other people like you would take care of, don't do anything that you wouldn't do yourself, and don't think that you're too bigger than them. Be humble and be considerate, and that's, even if you don't know a damn thing, your humbleness that you don't. And if you don't know anything, say you don't know. Don't act like you know everything and tell them bullshit. So I think I did really well as a leader. Now, don't tell me to change the spark plugs to a Humvee. I might get myself blown up. But I can manage those folks because I know how to treat them right. And it's just treating people right. I mean, it's really, it's kind of common sense. Well, to me, it's common sense, but you don't have to tell them how to change the wire. You just be, overall management and taking care of the organization, and not being like a stuck-up person, like you're better than them. That's where I got my gravy at on the biscuits there. Yeah.
And looking at like a managerial side of it, of even corporation side, like you got raised at an early age by a good mentor or father, as a mentor, father figure or mentor, to say, okay, hey, this is how you are, how we are placing people, how you treated, to where you just looked at it as like, hey, I'm putting you in position to win.
Yeah.
And kind of let go.
Yeah. Let go, delegate it, and then let go. Matter of fact, sometimes it's better just to say, hey, this is what's coming down. I need you to deal with it. They're the experts in many ways. And then you walk away and you come back, you delegate it, and then you check up. You have some various little powwows and meetings, and you don't have to go, you don't you just allow them to do what they have been basically trained to do. Yes, exactly. Delegate and follow up, and don't micromanage. I know with me, with micromanage, it just kills my creativity. And but yeah, exactly right. It was really, I thought it was easier the higher I got up, because I could do the more of the managerial. I thought it was much more easier than being at the bottom for me personally. Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of going higher up, from you said it was like 10-year gap or whatever it was from each levels. When did the traveling and all this stuff started kicking in different countries? And was it more like the further level you went up?
That was more when I went up, especially when I got on active duty as a lieutenant. Went to 10 Special Forces Group, went to Canada. Eventually, I went into Korea, and then I went into various other countries such as Germany, Afghanistan, and things. But yeah, and I just loved overseas life. I'm not overseas now, I'm in the United States, but I really enjoyed it. And but that was something I would never have experienced unless I went in to the military. But But yeah, so yeah, as I went up the ranks, I got more responsibility, and was able to get more opportunities to do other things, and was usually trying to get overseas. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So that brings up another thing, because people that travel abroad, they respect America a lot more because they see the different countries, and B, like they just, it depends on how it is, but like I hear the food over. I haven't traveled abroad into Canada, so Canada is the furthest I've been outside of Canada. But to me, like, it sounds like the foods and the culture and just the openness of everyone, even though, like, religion, whatever it is, if you're in a place that is safe, people want to know you.
Yeah, and that's where I really felt wanted. In other words, like with my Southern access, and I have my faults, but people don't pick it up as much. They just respect you a little bit more. You're from America. They know you're different, and they just like don't. I don't the food, like South Korean food. I eat kimchi. I eat garlic and onions every day, not because I'm married to a Korean, because I just love that food. I would have never went crazy over Korean food if I hadn't gone to Korea. But yeah, exactly. And the smells, the tastes, and the life. You just sometimes you miss. Some people come back and they miss it, and I do. And yes, and yeah, when I went over there, I just felt apart. I don't. In hindsight, I probably could have been a foreign area officer, someone who specializes in a foreign country. But that's hindsight. But yeah, that was probably the number one. I would you can take my 2 master's degrees away from me and my bachelor's degree away from me, but that foreign experience is much more. I felt that I'm more smart or more worldly with that than all my college degrees. Yeah.
So, so looking at all the cultures besides food, what were like the discipline things that you saw that each culture had?
So, for example, in South Korea, they're the highest. I feel that they're the most educated people that I've ever met in the world. They're just almost too educated. They just pressure their children to education, so much. And then when I went to Germany, it was really the beer and the bread that was really good, and the cheeses and the things of that nature that was really, really good. Germans, they just seemed to be very, very clean on everything. They cleaned everything. Even their little streets and sidewalks were just so clean in their houses. And so they were just like clean freaks in many ways. And of course, their furniture and their cars are very well. The mechanics of how they do their whatever things that they need, like beds and furnitures and things, are really, really squared away. So everyone had a certain benefit, and but Korea is really, really crowded and sometimes can be smoggy. But Germany is more like that laid open land where people are spread out in little communities that are in these valleys and things. So you just see the differences of all these different countries. And now I went to El Salvador as well on 2 humanitarian exercises in El Salvador, and and that's just basic poverty. We were doing humanitarian assistance missions and just basic poverty. I saw, mostly the women and the children are working, and the guys are just laid back, just hanging out, drinking. And you just see a different, like a poverty-stricken area. And that's so you see all these different things, and they just mold you and make you think a little bit about how the world works in many ways. And some places are different, and sometimes people are all the same. So, but yeah, it's wrapped. I mean, it was the best experience I've ever had. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So now let's look at like Ball and all that influence into a book like you have behind you here. So how did you start approaching this, or how did you lay it out? Obviously I'm an author on myself here, but everyone's got writing style differences, right? So how did you just puke out the world in a presentable way?
Yeah, doing this first book that I had was probably one of the top 3 challenges in my entire life. First challenge was just getting through college. Reading and writing are my worst subject. English, I guarantee you, all you guys out there, men, women, whatever, I guarantee you all made better on the entrance exams to the college than I did, or especially English and writing, I guarantee that. But I had to hire a ghostwriter because it's emotional. And then you have to give it all, and you have to You have to have someone who's objective, that's not emotional about the process, and they have to write it down and construct it for you. Just like you have a house, you buy a house, and you might, I want this wall to go here, I want this to go. So with a book, a good thing to do is not write it yourself, but have somebody to help you out and to go through the architecture of it. And then you have an editor, and then you have a marketer. Just like you have you didn't do the plumbing in the house, you didn't do the painting in the house, but you kind of do you're the master grandeur. That's where it comes from, is you. That's kind of how I approached it. I never wrote a damn book. I knew I had a lot of people ask me, well, why did you write a damn book? Well, my dad was a storyteller. He's told stories all the time, and I always wanted him to write one, but he didn't do it. And so I'm doing it now. He's gone now. And so I'll write it for him and me. I'm dedicating it to my father, and it'll be a legacy. And even if it loses money, which I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do the best I can and put it out there, and hope folks will learn from it. And that's kind of why I did it and how I constructed that process. It's just not, I mean, if you're, put everything if you want to write it, put everything down on paper as you can. And then I would advise you to hire someone who's a professional to architect, to put it out there. Yeah.
Come in. Yeah. And I'll give you a little secret on mine here, guys. So like he has a ghostwriter. I had a ghostwriter for mine. I think there's 5 or 6 chapters that were completely ghostwritten. I could look at the book, and I'm sure you can look at your parts and figure out exactly where that switched over here, but you did it the proper way. And I'm going to say a lot of people will lay out books. They want to do it by themselves, like every word necessary, whatever. And you said it to a T, like, books can be profitable, but also books cannot be profitable. But the main thing is, like, you have to get the team of people behind it to get it laid out properly and make it worthwhile. Like, I struggled in high school with English and speeches and all that stuff. And, all of a sudden you start laying stuff out and you're like, wait a minute, I'm doing more than they did in high school. Right. So the teachers that talked you down ended up, it's like, wait a minute, this is just how we're doing it and accomplishing that goal here. So, so the one thing that I learned, especially from writing a book, was not so much the book process of it. So like, it's very heavy at the end, right before it's going to come out, but then the year after, where you're like, holy shit, all these stories are out public. Did you go through like an identity crisis?
I did that before the book was published. So I went through matter of fact, this book nearly killed me. Really does. In my testimony on the first few pages, I got testimony where I went into the hospital of blood clots because this book stressed me out so much, my hormones, whatever. I don't know the technology, but I was sitting down too much. I was stressing too much. And I went into the hospital. Blood clots had formed. I was nearly going to die. I went into the ICU, and they wanted to know if I was a smoker. I said, no, I only smoke cigars like once a week, but that's it. No, but I told him I was stressing and sitting down so long, stressing what did it. And I nearly died for it. Because I was visualizing my whole life that was going to be published. And what I'm finding in hindsight is that if you give your dirty laundry out, and if you're honest with yourself, most people that receive it, they just say, oh, wow, okay, it's out there. It's no longer dirty laundry, and it's no big. They either admire you or they want to shy away from you, but they don't really. A lot of them respect you, but your friends are your friends and your family is your family, and you know who that is before you. So I went through that before it was published, and that was a hell of a process. It was like I said, it was probably the top 3 things stressful in my entire life period, doing that. The vomiting, to getting it out there, nearly killed me. And it's in the book on the testimony and in the details on that. Yeah. So it was tough.
Well, the question I'm going to ask you right now is the question that everyone else answers anyone. How does it feel now that you wrote a book?
Oh, hell yeah. It feels good as hell. I'm proud of it. I'm very proud of it. And, I'm just, it's it's just one of those things. You just proud, you've done more than, it was a goal. It was one of those lifetime things that I've always thought about. It's like one of those things I want to rise to this and climb this mountain or do this. It's one of those, what is it called? Death goals, or one of those, yeah. So one of the things you want to do, and I did it, and I feel very comfortable and very happy that I've done it.
One, and obviously now you did one. Now you have a few more because I can see behind you here. So, um,
Oh yeah.
is the train stopped or is the train still rolling?
Oh, it's still rolling. I've already got the second book out, more on veterans and how to get your benefits. And that one's, so jasonpike.org is, oh, let me go here. jasonpike.org is my website where you'll find the two books at. The one that's more focused on veterans and how to get their benefits, because I went through hell to get my damn benefits. So out of the uniform and back into civilian life, I try to break down. It's a short book, but I have a lot of links in there. It's more of a self-help guide to get your benefits. And then I've got another one I'm working on right now is what to do when you're in a wild environment of work. If you're in a toxic environment of work and there's just hell every day, and that is probably coming from the leader in the organization, what to do about it, how to handle it, because I've been in that in the military. And so I'm working on that. That's going to be 4 months. It's going to be something about toxic leadership and about just getting up and just dreading work every day. But not because of, it's really because of the supervisors and stuff like that. So that's what I'm working on. And I got some other things out there I don't want to talk about, but yeah, kind of on that thing, kind of got somewhat when my first book got out, my creative juices started flowing. And then I started thinking about it afterwards, like I've got all kind of things I can do. And now I've got the first book that I can do a lot more. So that's kind of my thought process. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even I'll be public about this. Book number 2 for me is in the process. So there's some audio work that was converted already. There's some stuff that I used. I'm not going to be 100% AI on it, but like the basis of it was, the topics that I wanted to bring in and how to connect it. And then there's going to be some more topics here getting written here over this winter here. So it's like you, man, never ending cycle. Obviously, I went through a lot of the big races this summer, so a lot of my life was designated to running for an ultra marathon. But wintertime is just like you. It's probably when it's time, get the deer hunt in or whatever. But after that, then it's time to get back to work.
Yeah. So my first book, audiobook, I got an audiobook on the first one, and then I'm going to do the audiobook on the next one. But no, I got audio in the first one. My audio is in my voice. I did the audio and I put it out there. So it's coming from the narration audio. So not my second one, because that's more of a self-help guide with links. My third one, I'm looking at having audio on that one. And so looking forward to that. I mean, it's competitive in the world, the written world, and but you've made a little bit of legacy, you made a little bit of hope in other people's lives, and that's kind of where my motivation's at, really.
Yeah, man, I'm enjoyed. I can't wait to swap books on my end here. So, but no, man, I want to say, give everyone the website again. I know you said it already, but let's give everyone where everyone can direct you.
Yeah, everything's on Amazon, and it's all, but my website's jasonpike.org, and Jason, Jason, pike.org. But the two books are on Amazon, Jason Pike. But yeah, that's where you'll find everything, my links and everything else to get connected to me. Yeah, that's where you get connected to me. Yep.
All right, awesome, man. I was gonna say I was gonna say thank you for coming on the show. I'm gonna hit stop here because you just killed it for like the last 25, 30 minutes. So I want to make sure we're in here. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.